verbal or life.
Here we go. So now they're trying to put the fear on people that Trump is going to deport 4% of the country. I don't know about all that. Well, let's say, 4%, but they got to get deported. So the media is doing their best to put the fear on us. In this video, let's take a look at a video clip that's all they talk about, how what Trump is trying to do is impossible. Right? Take a look all the way to the end. I want you to comment as we watch this. Welcome to Verbal Online. My name is Noel. And to bring you the information, hopefully you enjoy the clip. And before you go anywhere, give it a thumbs up. Now let's take a look at what video the left put together. Let's see how true this is.
$315 billion. That's one staggering cost estimate for Donald Trump's signature campaign promise.
The largest domestic deportation operation in American history.
More conservative estimates are still.
My man said 300. Well, she said 350 billion. And let me say this much. That's nothing compared to how much money we send other countries to protect their border, to help them out. Like Ukraine, I think we already sent like $1 trillion over to Ukraine. So why are we complaining about 315? Sounds like a little bit.
Enormous. One group puts it at $162 billion. That's more than the government spent on most federal agencies in fiscal year 2024.
Massive position 162, we should double that. And you know what? Congress got to put more money into this, because if we're able to put money to send to Ukraine, conversation is over.
We'll explain why an operation of this scale could require hundreds of billions of dollars over the course of a decade.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it. And it's a very tough thing to do.
Yep.
That means roughly 13 million immigrants who entered the country illegally are at risk of deportation, about 4% of the U.S. population.
How is that? That 4% of the population is illegal? They got to go. And why should we feel bad if they broke the law?
Put that into perspective, the entire U.S. prison and jail population in 2022 was around 1.9 million people.
Scale is difficult for the government to carry out.
Aaron Reichlin-Melnick is a senior fellow at the American Immigration Council, a liberal immigration group.
Trump would have to do more than quadruple current ICE removals of people arrested in the interior.
He got to do what he got to do. So quadruple what Obama did? You know what? I actually hope he gets that done. Because now, not only are we going to need more money, but more and more people want to get involved. We got more and more ICE agents coming back from retirement just to jump in on this.
Just to hit the levels that we've seen previously under Obama.
I think that you take a sequential approach to it. You start with what's achievable. Let's start with 1 million.
The details of
that only makes sense. You know, little by little, hopefully by July, we're doing like 250,000 per month.
Plan are still being worked out. But let's say Trump does decide to deport 1 million people a year. That could still cost about $88 billion annually and take 11 years, according to
1 million people a year. That's a lot, man.
One estimate. And that's assuming 20% of people would leave on their own.
Yes, it's expensive, but the trade-offs, I think, are well worth it.
Ron Vitello led the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency known as ICE for a year in Trump's first term.
Right now, the government is underfunded for its ability to detain people. To be able to accomplish this and the border mission simultaneously will require a reallocation, if not an infusion for resources.
Other immigration experts say the actual cost of Trump's mass deportation plan will be much lower than the American Immigration Council's estimate of $315 billion.
And again, that number is just to put fear on people. All right? The number is probably going to be way lower. And even if it is, again, we need the money.
A more robust enforcement like the administration is contemplating may create significant economies of scale.
Stephen Camarata is the director of research at the Center for Immigration Studies, a group favoring immigration restrictions that helped staff Trump's first term.
Once you start doing it and you get an infrastructure in place, then it might be a lot cheaper.
There you go.
Deportation starts with arrest.
There'll be targeted arrest. We'll know who we're going to arrest, where we're most likely to find them based on numerous investigative processes.
We're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others.
Trump says dreamers, or people who entered the U.S. illegally as children, might be an exception. To make arrests, ICE officers would either identify someone who's already in a jail or prison, or go to a person's home.
Please come to the door.
The majority of undocumented immigrants are not in law enforcement custody. Most of them have never committed any offenses.
Arresting people out in the community, known as at-large arrests, isn't a common tactic for ICE.
And now it will be, because we got to get the illegal criminals that are hurting people that we see on television. Like that illegal alien that burned that lady on the train in New York City. Why do we even got people like that?
Tello says it's more logistically complicated and more expensive, but it's at the center of the Trump administration's plan.
I'm not concerned that they won't be able to find them. It's just a matter of time, given the circumstances, given the availability of information, and given the resources in play.
At-large arrests often require multiple federal agents and take several days because ICE officers don't generally have warrants.
Immigration violations are not criminal, which means
Look at this guy. He's the number one guy pushing this idea that we cannot do it.
that a judicial warrant to arrest them would not have probable cause. They might have to wait hours for the person to leave their house. They might have to stake out a work site.
To carry out arrests at this scale, the American Immigration Council estimates ICE would need to hire over 30,000 new law enforcement agents and staff, making it the largest law enforcement agency in the federal government.
Yeah.
Vitello says this number is overstated, and that state and local law enforcement could be directed via task forces to help with at-large arrests, something they already do.
Having that referral system, having state and locals help ICE officers do their job. Better to have it than not, but not definitive in whether they do the work or not.
Then there's detention, the most expensive part of the whole process. It costs around $200 a day to hold someone in ICE custody. Congress has provided enough funding for at least 41,500 detention beds in fiscal year 20.
So then Congress got to give more money. That's all they got to do. They know that everything is being done on a larger scale. So therefore, more money to get more beds.
2025. But that's not nearly enough to detain 1 million people a year. According to the American Immigration Council, ICE would need to construct 216 soft-sided facilities every year for 11 years. Soft-sided facilities are temporary tent-like structures that have typically been used near the border. Anyone not physically detained would be placed on electronic surveillance, which costs approximately $4 per person per day.
No, ain't nobody going to be giving that.
Private contractors involved in every stage of the detention process could drive up prices even more.
Contractors drive people in between ICE detention centers or drive the vans after somebody's arrested.
Detaining children would also make this process more expensive.
I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Family detention is the most expensive kind of detention because the US government is required to give people minimum standards, and those children need to have child welfare professionals on site. They need to have pediatricians on site. There needs to be a provision for them to.
Right now, there's a bunch of kids crossing the border, and we got to provide all those services. That costs the government billions. You know, every time we see videos on the news of men, women carrying children across the border, you know, so now we got to deal with that. And then we could deal with putting them in detention and then giving them the service while we get them to get on a plane and send them all back.
To get schooling if they are going to be held for months or potentially years at a time.
Vitello says one way the government could reduce costs is by repurposing existing detention centers like Guantanamo Bay.
A third country like a Panama, potentially Mexico, could agree to hold third country nationals so that their due process could be adjudicated, thereby lowering the costs and kind of sending a message down the pipeline that people are not going to be released into the United States to await those adjudications. That alone will reduce the number of individuals trying to cross the border illegally.
Camerata says there are over 1 million immigrants who could be detained at a much lower cost.
There are people with a final order of removal that we just never made leave. Those individuals shouldn't have to be held long. We can get them out very quickly.
After detention comes legal processing, which immigration law experts say is the biggest bottleneck in the mass deportation process. An additional 10.6 million cases would require nearly 2,000 more immigration judges and over 1,100 more courtrooms.
There is not only a cost in the immigration court side, but there's also a cost in the ICE side in getting these new prosecutors online. You need support staff for the judges, judicial law clerks, secretaries.
Staffing on both sides leads each case to cost over $2,500. To set up new courtrooms quickly, the government would likely construct tent courts, like those built in 2019 to implement the migrant protection protocols. This was when immigrants living in the U.S. illegally were returned to Mexico to wait for the duration of their court proceedings. They went to tent courts near the border to virtually appear in front of judges.
You could do those hearings much faster, logistically get more judges and more hearings heard in a day.
As with finding new efficiencies in the detention space, that is another thing that has its limits.
Tent-style courtrooms in Laredo, Texas, cost about $16 million to build and $143 million annually to
Cheap, cheap, cheap. Let's go.
operate. Once a person receives a final removal order, they have to either report for deportation at a later date or wait in detention until then.
At that point, the US government has to actually arrange the removal. That would involve putting them on a bus and sending them to Mexico. But if they're from any other country other than Canada, that means putting them on a plane and flying them to their ultimate.
You know, personally, I had two cousins that were deported. They were held in detention. Then they were put on a plane back to the Dominican Republic. So no problem. They got there safe and they're there now. Deported for life.
Destination.
An operation of this scale could require over 6,000 removal flights per year. For comparison, ICE had around 1,200 removal flights in fiscal year 2023. The average ICE removal flight costs about $17,000 per hour. This number could go up if private contractors who provide ICE with planes and pilots raise their prices.
But there are other assets, right? ICE has a number of its own aircraft that are already in service today. The Justice Department, the Marshal Service, has their own transportation aircraft. The scale-up need could come from the military.
Trump told NBC News in November that there is no price tag for his plan. Camerata says the cost will likely be spread out over several years because
that is amazing. There is no price tag. So stop putting fear on people. You know, this is easy to put fear on people because everybody understands money in terms of it's expensive, but the true cause, it's not.
it would be impractical to deport even 1 million people a year, let alone all 13 million in a single one-time operation.
In this case, it's probably hyperbole. What I think he's trying to do is tell everyone, when I take over, the immigration law is going to be back in business. And I think it's going to have a big effect. And then it's going to be up to the public to judge whether he kept his word.
But getting enough funding from Congress will be crucial for an operation of this magnitude. Senate Republicans have said that passing a border funding bill will be the top priority next year.
Border security, more bed spaces so you don't have to release people that shouldn't be released.
Yep.
And more ICE agents to deport people who represent a threat to our country and shouldn't be here to begin with.
Republicans control both chambers of Congress next term, but it's a narrow majority, making spending on this scale no guarantee.
To my Democratic friends, I think if you resist rational deportation policy, you do so at your own peril.
It's like we all want to see who's going to talk against this idea, because that means you're talking against the American people, against all the policies that everybody want to see. You know? So we're about to go into the deportation era, and I'm dying to see how that's going to look and who's going to fight against this. All right, check out this other video.
We're going to do it as quickly as we can. On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will sign a historic slate of executive orders to close our border to illegal aliens and stop the invasion of our country. And on that same day, we will begin the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than that of President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And as part of Operation Aurora, you know all about Aurora, how horrible that's been. Every single foreign gang and illegal alien member, all of this criminal network operating on American soil will be dismantled, deported, and destroyed. Gonna get them out. Think of it. They sent their gang members to us. Busload after busload. We had an open border. They're gang members, they're drug dealers, they're drug addicts. people that were sick, people that were healthy and strong. What the hell was that? You get the little yips up here every once in a while. I wonder.
All right. So that's Trump, man. Okay, so how is he going to deport 4% of the population? Yes, he's exaggerating, but eventually he will get a good number going out. Hopefully, with more funding, with more support, that number will go up quickly. So by the time he's done, then maybe
Promise is to seize.
Then maybe in 4 years he'll get like 1 million per year. Not at the beginning, but eventually he will. So let's not use fear. All right, check out this next video.
Federal lands to build homes, remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising? And what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame Kamala Harris for letting in millions of illegal aliens into this country, which does drive up costs, Tim. 25 million illegal aliens competing with Americans for scarce homes is one of the most significant drivers of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside massive increases in illegal alien populations under Kamala Harris's leadership. Now, Tim just mentioned a bunch of ideas. Now, some of those ideas I actually think are halfway decent, and some of them I disagree with. But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as a newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable, I invite her to use the office that the American people already gave her.
That was a great debate, man. My man just shined during that debate.
Not sit around and campaign and do nothing while Americans find the American dream of homeownership completely unaffordable.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So you got to talk about another far-right conspiracy theory that has turned out to be true. Okay, the liberal media is admitting the far-right conspiracy that illegal immigrants are contributing to the housing crisis in this country. The fact that housing, the price has skyrocketed, rents have skyrocketed, the price of shelter has skyrocketed. The reason for that, or part of the reason, a significant reason for that happening, has to do with more illegals being in the country. Okay, more immigration into the country. Now, anybody with common sense can come to this conclusion. Okay, more demand, less supply not able to keep up with a shock in demand in which you have tens of millions of illegals coming to the country, okay, plus other immigrants as well too. Yeah, that type of short-term demand boost is going to create supply shortages, and that is going to drive up the price of housing. Basic stuff, okay? But the mainstream liberal media, okay, and their economists, right, the elites, okay, the people who know everything, the arbiters of truth, said, no. This is a conspiracy theory when J.D. Vance proposed mass deportations as a part of the solution that is needed to bring down the cost of housing in this country. Take a look.
You're basically saying the United States doesn't have meaningful border policy. I mean, Mexican drug cartels have become the wealthiest criminal organization maybe in the entire world because of what Kamala Harris has done at the border. Not to mention, like, I'm a big believer in the social contract in this country. Like, I benefited sometimes from a generous United States government, meaning a generous United States taxpayer that made it possible for us to afford things that we wouldn't have always been able to afford. So when you bring in millions upon millions of people, you degrade and destroy the social trust that's necessary to support any kind of a modern support for poor people, food assistance, housing assistance. You are not going to have that stuff if you allow millions upon millions of people into this country illegally, and then they get to take advantage of it.
Well, let's say you were successful in carrying out those mass deportations. One thing that everyone agrees on is that more housing is necessary in this country, right? The reason that there is a housing crisis is that not enough houses have been built.
And that we have 25 million people who shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, this is the thing.
I think it's both.
I know you do. I don't think that many people who look into this agree with you, but about a third of the construction workforce in this country is Hispanic. Of those, a large proportion are undocumented.
Undocumented. That means there's a bunch of people doing work with no paperwork, so they're probably getting paid less than everybody else, and that's illegal. So we're taking advantage of people who don't have documents. Like, why should we be supporting that? And why should we say, well, because they are working, we shouldn't deport them? No, they are taking advantage of those people. They should be deported, and we should hire people who have documents, who are here legally. How about that? This lady's argument is nonsense. She is supporting people that are paying, like all these employers are paying less to get more work done.
So how do you propose to build all the housing necessary that we need in this country by removing all the people who are working in construction?
Yeah, so you see, there you heard that. Okay, the liberal media mocked J.D. Vance for his suggestion that, hey, illegal immigrants are contributed to the cost of housing in this country. They are contributing to Americans struggling to find shelter. Now we know for a fact that this is true, okay, because new data has been released about the U.S. homelessness rate and how much it has spiked this year alongside the invasion at the border, right? The mass illegal immigration into the country. Yes, that has contributed to actual Americans going homeless. So without further ado, let's react to TYT going over this story, in which, again, they admit that a far-right conspiracy theory is, in fact, true.
Federal government reports that there has been a double-digit jump in American homelessness compared to last year, and an even bigger jump among families.
According to the government's latest data, more than 770,000 people were unhoused in a single night in 2024, up 18% from the year before, and the highest number ever recorded.
And those shocking numbers were released by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They looked at the number of homeless people between January of 2023 and January of 2024 and noticed that pretty steep spike in the number of people living on the streets in the United States. Now, what is behind this massive increase in homelessness? Well, if you read most news reports, they just simply say housing prices are too high, which is true. But what's driving the increase in housing prices? Why is housing so unaffordable?
Yeah.
Well, we're about to break that down for you piece by piece. But before we do, there's something that you should keep in mind. So again, this data was collected by taking a snapshot of one night in January of 2023 and then comparing it to one night in January of 2024. So the numbers are about a year old. And putting that aside, let's dive into what the findings were. So the report on homelessness was, again, put together by the US Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the numbers are very bleak. So nearly every category of unhoused people grew, with the rise especially steep among children, 33%, and people in families, 39%. The number of people in shelters rose by about a quarter, while unsheltered homeless rose 7%. The rise in homelessness among older adults continued as well, with a 6% growth in those 65 or older. Now, much of the report actually focuses on one of the main factors behind this. So they talk about how the influx of asylum seekers immigrating to the country has exacerbated the housing crisis, because we already had a housing crisis spurred by the shortage of housing units available. And so here's what they found. Migration had a particularly notable impact on family homelessness, which rose 39% from 2023 to 2024. In the 13 communities that reported being affected by migration, family homelessness more than doubled. Whereas in the remaining 373 communities, the rise in families experiencing homelessness was less than 8%. So I mean, this is, in my opinion, just simple numbers, logic, supply and demand. There was already high demand for limited housing units, and then you introduce an additional population into the country when you haven't really increased the housing inventory, and it's going to, again, exacerbate the problem. And so during the Biden administration, before he did his executive order for the southern border, he had paroled 1.4 million asylum seekers into the country. Obviously, that's gonna have an impact on homelessness when we don't have enough housing to withstand the increase in population.
Ding, 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 ding. Again, I want you guys to understand that the far left economists said, no, this was not a thing. Like, this is not something that is happening. Illegal immigrants are not contributing to the increase in the price of housing. That's not true. They are, right? They are a part of the reason why there is a housing shortage, due to the fact that there's more demand for the housing and there's not enough supply to meet that demand, especially coming out of the pandemic where we had supply chain shortages, and then you have all these illegals coming in, driving up the demand even more. And again, you're kind of in short supply to a certain extent because of what happened during the pandemic. But again, the left-wing economists said, no, this is not true, right? Now, I know that Democrats are kind of racist. Okay, they're kind of racist. They probably believe that 10 Mexicans live in one small home, right? One trailer or whatever, right? So they probably don't think they need that much housing, okay, for the people that they're letting into the country. I know that's what the Democrats and the liberals think, but you still need a lot of housing if you're letting in 10 plus million people into the country, right? Still a lot of housing. So everybody with common sense knew that this was real, knew that this was a thing. Now, all of a sudden, here comes the government, here comes the mainstream liberal media admitting what everybody else already knew long before they acknowledge reality. Again, common sense will take you a long way. It really will, especially when it comes to politics.
They pretend like they don't use common sense. Like this is beyond and above and beyond them. As a matter of fact, I hate the fact that the left try to outsmart themselves. I mean, they outsmarted themselves into a whole nother level. So that means they're calling everybody else stupid when they're not.
Yeah, so there's a number of factors that leads to homelessness and the rise in homelessness. So when you look at the different factors, you have to try to separate them out to the best of your ability. So we had a lot of these factors earlier, but when the migrant wave came, the numbers went up. And so you see that how it adds to the numbers, right? And you go, oh,
the illegal, you forgot the word illegal migrants came.
Okay, that's the difference. And that's why that doesn't mean the migrant crisis is the only thing causing it. It's just saying that it's causing some significant percentage of the increase that's happening. Right?
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a big deal. No matter how you try to square it, what you're saying is that illegal immigrants, people who are not citizens, are causing actual Americans to lose their homes, to go homeless. So quite literally, we're kicking Americans out and putting them on the street and allowing people who are not Americans to occupy their homes. That's what we're doing. There's no other way you can square this. Americans are going homeless due to a spike in illegal immigration. Illegal immigration is literally putting the American people last. And the effed up part about it is that the American people that are affected by this are those that are most unfortunate, that are in the most dire situations, at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. Those are the people being negatively affected by this. So illegal immigration is essentially just telling them you're no longer useful. In fact, get out of your home, leave, and we're going to import a new population who are more useful than you are, right? Because they'll work for cheap, okay? And that's what's happening. And then on top of that, you have the government subsidizing this housing, okay? You have that happen as well too. So you got the government paying for it as well. Again, naturally, what happens as a result is housing prices are going to skyrocket. That's going to contribute to a shortage in housing. Common sense stuff.
Right? So now there's other factors though as well, which is how do you treat folks? And so we're gonna get into that a little bit. Do you do housing first or do you try to get them medical treatment or addiction treatment, et cetera? And I think that overall, there's some cities that have done a wonderful job. Houston got rid of their bureaucracy, mainlined it, and actually got homelessness down by 40% at one point. Utah built houses and got homelessness down significantly at another point.
I think homelessness is a huge problem that we need to focus on. And I want to see different states just come out with programs that try it out. It doesn't work, switch it up. Try something different. Not continue to fund the same programs that do nothing. It's like such a waste of money. Not only that, but there's other countries, other states that try different strategies. For them, it works. So let's give it a try. See what works. But the point is, try and change. Trial and error. Trial and error. You got to try things out and change it up.
So we've seen some successes on things that could work, but largely most of the
that could work. Come on now. We got the money to try things out and switch it up. Not continue to invest. I think when they continue to invest, it's just dumping and burning money. That's not even their money. It's like tax money.
those areas are not doing those successful strategies. They're doing other strategies that just simply aren't working.
Right.
And they're also misdirecting a lot of our money and not actually spending it on the homeless.
Exactly. So, California is a good example of that. I know you guys have heard me talk about this repeatedly because it's really important to prevent this from happening again in the future. California residents allocated $24 billion, increasing their own taxes in order to solve the homelessness crisis. That money gets funneled to nonprofits, some of which are founded by friends and family members of politicians in California. And let's just say that money did not go to where it was intended to go. And there have been some audits that have found wrongdoing by a lot of these nonprofits. But nonetheless, to your point, Cenk, I think the failure of the housing first policy is that it pursues a one size fits all approach to this issue. And this isn't a simple issue. This is actually a much more complex issue. We do need to build more housing. There's no question about that. But there are people who are struggling on the streets with severe addiction or severe mental health issues. So if you are someone who has a severe mental health condition, right? Let's say paranoid schizophrenia or something like that, you haven't been getting the medical care you need. Just taking you and putting you in a apartment unit is not going to solve the problem. And so it is more complicated than I think some of the advocates are making it out to be. But going back to the migrant issue, I also want to clarify one thing because it's important. So the data does generally suggest that communities with high immigration levels also experience high levels of homelessness, but homelessness in areas that didn't have high levels of immigration also saw an increase. And it's because, again, it's the same problem. We don't have enough housing. And if you have high demand, low supply, that's going to drive up housing prices. And when people can't afford it, they end up living in their cars or they end up going to a shelter. That is a huge problem here.
It's funny how they're using logic, and this is on television. When they're talking about it in television, that means behind in schools, in closed doors, professionals, they already had this conversation. They already know the problem and they already know that changes got to be made. But because they're making so much money, they don't seem to care. They're like, whatever, the money's coming in, let's just keep doing what we're doing.
Here. Dennis Culhane, who's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, who has long advised the government on homelessness data.
But it is good that they expose it on TV only to wake people up, more and more people, so more and more people can complain about it. More making people aware of these ideas, these conversations that they're just stealing money.
Said that about 3/4 of the increase in homelessness occurred in the 4 states hit hardest by asylum seekers: New York, Illinois, Colorado, and Massachusetts. Along with Hawaii, this is the second factor where wildfires in Maui fueled mass displacement. So a lot of these natural disasters are causing problems with homelessness as well because people get displaced. There's nowhere for them to turn to. A lot of them end up in shelters. It's just a disaster all around.
Yeah. So, like I said, another right-wing conspiracy turns out to be true, okay? And people wonder why the American people question whether or not we should continue to have this type of mass immigration, legal or illegal, really, into this country.
All right, we're going to leave it there. That is the Black Conservative. He has a great channel, great thoughts, great idea that he wants to share. By the way, welcome to Verbal on Life. If you're still watching, hopefully this video earned your thumbs up and like. My name is Noel. I'm over here battling MS, and welcome to December 31st, 2024, the last day of the year. It is now 9:50 p.m. So I'm going to try to stream. I don't know for how long. I don't know if I'm going to wait for January 1st, 2025, 12 a.m. So I just wanted to share that video and practice a little bit into looking into the camera and talking more. I'm noticing my talking is not that clear. And again, like I said, I'm battling PPMS. If you don't know what that is, multiple sclerosis is a debilitating disease that just takes away your moving functions and different things. But I every day get to celebrate that I can still move my fingers, I can still talk and walk. It's insane. And let's just be happy with the little things that we got. But I'm gonna my goal for 2025. Oh, here, let me share. One of my goals for 2025 is to try to stream every day. If I could do everyday streaming, boom, goal hit. I just gotta pick a topic to do every day. And I gotta do it early in the morning because right now by 9:30, like my energy is drained out. It's difficult, really, really difficult just to push forward. Because as the day goes by, I lose more and more energy. Even talking, I never talked for this long. Let me take this time also to talk about, since I'm talking about my multiple sclerosis, my MS. One thing that I'm getting a chance to do is I'm 45 years old. I used to be a school teacher, and ever since I got diagnosed because I couldn't really move as much or think straight, I ended up retiring. Right? So when you're disabled, you're able to retire, and then you got to live off Social Security. Now I get to live off Social Security plus my pension. After working as a teacher for 20 years, my pension is actually like $2,500 a month. That is so low. You know, a teacher is a government job. So $2,500 a month from my school. Social Security, though, I like how much it's paying me. It's paying me $3,000 a month, right? So basically, I'm making what, $5,000 a month, which to me is more than what I used to make as a teacher, right? As a teacher, I will make like $6,000 a month, but after taxes and everything they took out in New York City, I will end up like $4,000 a month. So now I'm making more today than I was when I was working. So all that means is that my bills are clear, my bills are covered, and that's all I really care about. And then my goals switched up. Now that I'm retired, my goal is to just continue to move. And now that now that I got this channel, it gives me an opportunity to talk a little more, share my ideas. And you got to have a purpose in life. The worst thing you could do is sit at home doing nothing. I never understood that. A lot of my friends just hated to work, just wanted to stay home and play video games all day, every day. I never understood that. Like, you got to go out and get money somehow. I did the school thing. It's like school teaching chose me. I didn't choose to be a teacher. Like, I so much didn't want to do it. But once I started it, it was difficult to quit, to focus on another career. It is what it is. I did get a chance to go to college. That was a great experience. Can't believe I made it all 4 years of college, got a degree, and here we are. Now, after I got diagnosed with NMS, I actually found a girl that I didn't want to really marry, but I got married. Biggest mistake of my life. Marriage, now I'm getting a better understanding as to why marriage doesn't work for me. And right now I'm in the middle of divorce. So if she divorces me, that means I get to be home alone. You know, I am home alone now, but out of the money that I'm making, so now she wants alimony. So that's gonna cut into my income. So take out $1,500 of what I said that I make. I make $5,000, so now I'm gonna make $4,000 if she gets that. Not only that, but I bought this house. This house cost me like $100,000 out of my cash. Like, I took out my retirement. So she wants half of that. So there goes another $50,000. So then I got to find another house to live. Don't recommend marriage now. But it was crazy of me to get married better than PPMS. Like, once you're disabled, stay disabled. If you look at me trying to start a whole family, I'm like, I just wanted a wife with kids. Not that she has kids with me. And then after 7 years of marriage, she just said, no, this is not working. I don't want kids with you. I think this is over. All right. And I'm taking a car. By the way, I bought a Tesla that cost me $25,000. Down payment $25,000. Now I got to pay like $700 a month because the car actually cost $69,000. I love Tesla. And I don't have to drive it because it's self-driving. I love getting on it, just telling it to go. And because I got problem with my legs and my arm and my feet, I don't need to drive. The car literally drives itself. But I gave her the car, so she has the car. It's her car now. And soon, I'm fighting really hard not to sell the house. We had an argument today. By the way, switching it up a little bit. We had an argument today because I was trying to be funny, trying to make a conversation. I said, who is God's wife? You know? She was like, God doesn't have a wife. God is an idea. I'm like, yes, God is an idea. We all have it in our mind. Everybody has an idea. But just in general, when you think about God, for example, me, I think of a man. I don't think like of anything else. So she's like, well, my God is a woman. So I'm like, okay, that's the first time I ever heard that. But I'm thinking in terms of God being a man. So if God is a man, who is his wife? So that's me trying to make conversation with her. That didn't work out. So the point is, who is God's wife? And then, or Jesus' mother. Look at me trying to make it into like a human being. But yes, God is an idea. Just the idea of who is his wife, because my wife doesn't work for me. Here I am in the middle of a divorce. Maybe that's what I was thinking about it. Because I'm like, this marriage thing doesn't work for everybody. You know? And why would I get married? Because with my MS, I'm losing my functions more little by little. So that means I can still walk, but eventually you lose your ability to walk. So I'm going to be bedridden. That means I'm going to need help getting to the shower, going to the kitchen, being bedridden. And then after being bedridden, my arms, I won't be able to move. So here I am in bed, not being able to move my legs or arms, just laying there. And like, what woman is going to put up with that? Eventually, I'm assuming I'm going to lose my functions to do anything else, and then you pass away, right? So I'm 45 years old. I'm hoping I get to that level. Hopefully I get to 65. That's another 20 years. But maybe she doesn't see it that way. My wife is 35. She doesn't have any kids. So maybe, I don't know, she sees that she needs to keep it moving. Maybe to start a family, maybe start having children someday. I thought she wanted to have children with me, but I mean, with me, she ended up getting pregnant like 5 times and just didn't develop. So she said, maybe it's your MS, therefore we're breaking up. Because I think it's your MS, the reason the baby's undeveloped. So I'm like, all right, fine. I want everybody to look for their happiness. And I want to look for mine. And I need to just get on this stream and talk a little more. Hopefully get more people to watch the stream. Watch me talk and relate to what I'm talking about. Relate to the idea that marriage is difficult. And I was thinking about, you know what is difficult for me, especially? What do women want? You know what women want? An honest guy who they respect. Like this, my wife doesn't respect me. So women want a man that they respect, is gonna protect them. Who I want to protect, right? and they could depend on. So all of those things are out the window. There's no respect. Can't protect her. And what was the other one that I said? Respect, protection, and rely on. Because one of the problems with, and I thought I had that going because I worked really, really hard the first year of their relationship, trying to get to know her, letting her know. I thought honesty was big. So I was really, really honest with her at the beginning, but I didn't get that reciprocated back. Like, I could tell that what you really is doing is banking on me because my style of life, I have a lot of money saved on my 401k for my retirement where I'm at now. Right? I took all my money out and splurged it on my house and my car and my life. So I'm thinking, were you banking on me? Just waiting for this day that you can say, you know what, I'm getting a divorce and I want half. Right? Half of the $100,000 because this house, she wants $50,000 plus my Tesla plus a monthly alimony. Jesus. And want me to move into a 1-bedroom apartment or move into a hotel for the nurses, not a hotel, a hospital. So let the nurses take care of me 24/7. Why would I want to move into a hospital? My idea is to fight for as long as I can. And then because I have no other choice but to go to the hospital, then go to a hospital. But not voluntarily. Does that make sense? Like, I'm retired because I have to. I didn't want to retire, you know? I didn't do it voluntarily. I just had to. I couldn't walk to work anymore. Right? And now, next stage, I want kids. I can't have any kids. I don't want to volunteer selling my house and moving into a hospital, giving her the car, $50,000 and $1,200 a month alimony voluntarily. Especially after she said, you know what, we're going to get married, we're going to be there forever. We're not going to get divorced, and now we are. What was that about? The hell we get married to begin with? So, but yeah, I don't think I could ever, well, too late now, not looking for a girl, but now that I'm older, 45 years old, it's just clear that what those women need, right? Women don't want money. They care less about money, right? Like, I'm being banked out by my current wife, but women don't really want money. They just want a man that, what are the three things? See, I gotta learn to express myself a little more. The three things that secure our relationship. Women want a guy that they could depend on. What's the other? Oh, respect. Respect is big. Respect is big. This woman doesn't respect me, so this is not going to work. So respect, protection. She knows I can't protect her. So respect, protection, and reliability. Respect, protection, and reliability. Cannot rely on this guy. I think the two things that I miss from my current wife, she's saving money now to put in a divorce. Not only that, her mother and my mother are working overtime to see how they can divorce me. They're trying to figure out how can they go about getting the most out of me from this divorce. So, because my mother and her mother like grew up together, so they're like best friends. And then they introduced me to this girl. She's like, "What the hell is this? A setup?" So it is what it is. I thought she was a little bit more honest, but now I know that with no respect, there's no relationship. So what's the thing that I noticed? Yeah, she doesn't respect me. As a matter of fact, I had one good girlfriend. This is my second marriage, by the way. And one thing that I noticed from my girlfriend that I had in college was that she had high respect for me. And we broke up, I think, because she couldn't rely on me. Yeah. She couldn't rely on me in terms of financially. So it didn't prove to like provide a secure adulthood for her. So she didn't see any money coming through. So therefore she said, I can't rely on him. I don't think you're going to have that much money for us. So reliability, respect. I keep repeating the same thing, and safety. Like, does she feel safe with you? Safety, respect, and reliability. I think those are the three things that I'm lacking. Due to that, and by the way, I hate the word love. Love got nothing to do with this. Nothing. Respect is number one. You know, a woman, I heard a comedian saying, a woman doesn't respect you, doesn't give a damn about you. Once there is no respect in the relationship, it's over. You know, the comedian said that when a woman, what he said when a woman is here, can find it, talk to her boss and has nothing but respect for him, no, and shuts the fuck up when he talks, that's because she respects him. But when I talk, she wants to shut me down and show me that I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, who the hell are you talking to? Like, no respect whatsoever. So let me see if I can find this clip. Oh yeah, I found it. Let me see if I can show this clip.
Out there who are in a situation where you know this woman won't let you finish talking without hisses. Ah, ah, that means you're nothing to them. Trust me.
Yeah.
At her job, when Mr. Feinstein is talking, they be quiet. They listen to what he has to say.
Yup. Man, what's going on?
On top of that, they do it.
We
But in
started
a
from the beginning.
situation where you know this woman won't let you finish talking without hisses.
Come on.
Men out there who are in a situation where you know this woman won't let you finish talking without hisses. Ah,
Ah.
ah, that means you're nothing to them. Trust me. At her job, when Mr. Feinstein is talking,
Yeah.
they be quiet. They listen to what he has to say. And on top of that, they do it. You, not so much. Why do you think that is? She can't be quiet when you're talking because she doesn't respect you. And if somebody doesn't respect you, if you try to build with them, you're gonna lose miserably.
Boom. So I'll tell you that much. She doesn't respect me at all. Like, she looks like she's shocked how I got here in life, how I got so much money. You know, how is it that I was able to buy a mansion and a Tesla car, but I don't act like no brute. You know, I'm never mad. I try not to be upset. I try to enjoy everything in life. And she does that. Every time I'm talking, all you hear is, oh, like I'm bothering her. So it's like there was no respect at all. That was Corey Holcomb. And yo, he's on point about that. If there was a boss, she's quiet, she'll listen. But for me, no, when I see her talking to other men, it's all respect, quiet, listening, pay attention. But when I start to talk, it's like, what? So I'm like, I hate being in this situation. I never want to see this young lady again. It's like I married a Karen. Why would I want to live life with this human being? So I told her, look, do everything you got to do. Get your lawyers, do whatever you have to. I'm going to build my case. And personally, you're going to have to drag me out dead out of this house, right? Take the car, get out of here. You want 50 G? I don't know how you're going to get it because I'm going to try my best not to get pushed out of this car. The only thing that I want to bring to court is that I live here. I got a 15-year-old son that is still in high school. So that means if I move out, now I got to find a home, find a new school for this young man. I don't want to move. He still got 2 years of high school. I'm battling PPMS. I don't think it's fair that I move out of here just to give her 50 G's. She doesn't like it here. She could go get another apartment. And that's another thing. This house got 4 rooms. Every room got a big screen TV plus the living room. So I got like 5 large screen TVs in this house, plus a home theater downstairs that I built. Only be here 3 years, and now we got to sell it and get out of here and sell everything in here. I'm like, what kind of evil shit is that? What am I like? It costs like 60 grand to furnish this home. All of that for nothing. Now you're unhappy. And you could care less about me. That's a woman that doesn't care. But I love that video. Let me see if I can show it one more time. This man is a genius. Corey Holcomb.
Men out there who are in a situation where you know this woman won't let you finish talking without hisses.
Yeah.
That means you're nothing to them. Trust me. At her job, when Mr. Feinstein is talking, they be quiet.
Yeah, and she's always telling me great things about the people that work with her, how smart they are, how amazing they are. Yo, I'm working with this guy. He's smart. He bought a brand new house. He works 7 days a week. Yo, that guy's a genius. She went and bought him lunch, took it to his house. I'm like, I asked you to bring me lunch. No, but he's closer. So I'm like, what kind of disrespectful shit is this?
They listen to what he has to say, and on top of that, they do it. You, not so much. Why do you think that is? She can't be quiet when you're talking because she doesn't respect you.
Nope.
And if somebody doesn't respect you, if you try to build with them, you're going to lose miserably.
That is genius. And you know what I regret also? Okay, we got married like 5 years after knowing each other, or less than that. I'm bugging. We've been married 7 years. We only met for like 2 or 3. And I felt deep in my heart that this isn't going to work. You know? I convinced myself, and then I didn't try. I convinced myself. I said, well, I'm going to give it a try anyway because I'm about to pass out anyway with this MS. I'm going to be in a position where I'm like bedridden. So let me try the hell with it, throw everything at it. Biggest mistake of my life. Now she got her brother and her cousin trying to beat me up. And it's like, what the hell? Let me not even say beat me up, but these are 2 strong, healthy people. Like, what the hell are they arguing with me? And that's another problem. Like, I could care less about anybody, but She brings those two guys up all the time. That doesn't work with me. Can't put fear in me. But yeah, so what time is it? 10 o'clock. Oh wow, I've been doing the stream for an hour? Just noticed. This is the longest I've ever been without noticing. See, that's another thing that I want to get to do next year is more storytelling. I just told my whole life about getting divorced, about being with the wrong person that doesn't respect me. Yeah, respect is number one. And then respect comes automatically when you love the other person. Both ways comes out the respect. But now I'm in a situation where it's like he's sitting there like, talking to me like a Karen, like, what? I hate being yelled at. I hate being spoken to like that. It gets under my skin. So now that we all have arguments, let's see if she lawyers up next year. She said by the end of January, hopefully we'll be in court. She's going to be telling her part. I'm in PA, so the laws, I got to see how they work. As a matter of fact, I got to get lawyer money now. Where the hell am I going to get lawyer money? I got to start saving up. Let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. But this is my living room. Let me see if I could do this every day. I got an upstairs a room where I sleep. If I could come down here and record every day, I hit the lotto. So far, there's 2 people supposedly watching on X. I don't know how X works. I'm trying to get more and more involved in trying to get more people to watch on X and just share my story. That was my story on marriage and how for me is the worst thing, but I can't say it's for regular people. I mean, for everybody, marriage is difficult, but for me more, especially because I am battling MS. Why would anybody marry somebody with a disability? Now you know, they're banking it. To marry me, now if she divorces me, she gets $50,000. Will you marry somebody for $50,000? That's a lot of money. So now that's her goal in life. Her goal is to get a brand new Tesla and $50,000 with a monthly income. Me, trying to stay out the hospital, stay in my house. That's all I want. I help my son finish high school. So, oh man, I had a quote that I wanted to use every time I wanted to finish a stream. What? Oh man, I'm looking off my phone. So, see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.